Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is another Technical Alpha update here for E3 2019. We just got finished watching the dumpster fire that was the Bethesda presentation, and oh boy, I think everyone knew that it was likely going to be pretty weak, but this was a particularly special presentation, let me tell you. Let's dive right into it. You've probably already seen a lot of this stuff on social media. It's going to probably be blown all over the place. At the very least, you're going to hear about the crowd and one or two guys in the crowd that should have been, like, drawn, quartered, and friggin' taking long walks off of short piers and cement shoes. But here we are. We kicked off with God Howard, inevitably at some point after Pete Hines came out on stage first. God Howard came out, made a couple of his usual, like, kind of witty jokes and haha, we made mistakes, and haha, ho ho ho, and here I'm God Howard, and whatever, and here's Fallout 76, and it's bad. And then we got into Elder Scrolls Blades, which they touted as being their second largest mobile game next to Fallout Shelter, which to my understanding, they're the only two mobile games, so I don't know why they would decide to tout that. However, Elder Scrolls Blades coming to the Switch. It's also going to be free on the Switch. And it will have cross-play and progression with mobile, so you can play on your mobile device and then switch on over to the Switch. Allow myself to introduce myself and continue your progression there. After that, we did talk even more about Fallout 76. Believe it or not, they are continuing to produce content for this game. This time, we are getting into having human NPCs return. Full dialogue trees. They were very excited about full dialogue trees coming back. The updates that are coming are going to be free this fall, with a free trial from June 10th until the 17th. But here's the real fucking kick in the knackers. Here's the real gong show of this event. Ultimately, was the fact that, and I wish I was joking, but I'm not. This is reality. They announced a battle royale mode for Fallout 76. I wish I was joking. I can't even begin to fathom the levels of crazy that somebody would have to be internally to think that this was going to be a good idea, but here we are. It's called Nuclear Winter, and it's also available, I guess, to try this week. So if you really and truly hate yourself, or you just have a morbid curiosity for dog shit, then by all means go and try that out. And let us know on Twitter how it goes. Love to hear about just how bad that is. After that, we had an actual new IP. It's called Ghostwire Tokyo. It's an action-adventure game that's apparently, as the one of them came on stage, called it spooky. It had a little bit of a gameplay trailer there that was, or no, I shouldn't say gameplay, just a trailer. Pretty much entirely CGI. Very impressive CGI. But just CGI, no real gameplay was shown, so you have to see a bit more, but definitely go and check it out. It seems like an interesting concept, a little bit of Thanos there for sure, maybe even Hawkeye if you look close enough. Past that, we got into Elder Scrolls Online, one of the few things that are really and truly something that they should be proud about over there right now. They were talking about how Elsewhere is, of course, doing very well, and they released a new cinematic. Then they announced also, it was a Dragonhold, which is coming up soon. More information is going to be announced at QuakeCon, and then there was some dungeon DLC in August called Scalebreakers. So for those of you who are deep into Elder Scrolls Online right now, you probably already knew about some of this stuff, maybe not, but either way, there you have it. More stuff coming your way. Definitely a game that's doing very well, especially in the die-hard, a cutthroat business that is MMOs right now. Definitely doing big things. Then ZeniMax came out and announced that they had a new project, and simultaneously got me excited and then shattered all of my childhood hopes and dreams. I had mentioned for the last couple of years when somebody said, what's something that you'd like to see that you're like unlikely to see actually happen? And I've said Commander Keen a few times. And lo and behold, here we go, Commander Keen up on there. Up on the screen, and it turns out to be a fucking mobile game. We're getting a Commander Keen mobile game. Why? I don't know. But it's happening. And not only is it a mobile game, you might be saying to yourself, hey, Commander Keen on mobile actually makes kind of, decent sense. You could totally pull that off. Well, it's not like the original Commander Keen. It's just some sort of terrible, bastardized mobile thing that definitely looks like, not that we know yet, but definitely looks like it's going to have a few microtransactions to abuse. It's coming out this summer, so we're going to find out. We're going to know. I'm not going to be the one playing it, but I'm sure we'll be, have people tell us just how bad it is when the time comes. Then we got into Elder Scrolls Legends, expanding on the fact that it's going to be available to play PC, Mac, mobile, and tablet, if that isn't already the case. I thought it was. Showed us a little commercial cinematic thing that was kind of awkward, and some 14-year-old kid kind of got hit on by some rogue lady. That was odd. Then we had Rage 2, which I thought was dead on launch, but apparently it's still got enough people to make content for. Rise of the Ghosts expansion is on its way. And then we had to hear about Wolfenstein. We have VR Cyber Pilot, which is literally what it sounds like. You're getting a VR game there where you're piloting one of the mechs in the Wolfenstein universe. And that's coming out July. And then we also have Wolfenstein Youngblood, which is set in the 80s. It's a co-op game that can still be played by yourself. BJ Blazkowicz is missing, but his daughters are tracking him down. And so, of course, you can choose to play one of the sisters. And then if you want to play co-op, they play the other sister. It looks like more Wolfenstein, as you've seen, as of late, which means, it's got, great visuals and solid shooting as well. That's coming up July 26th on pretty much all platforms, consoles and otherwise. So you can look forward to that if you're a big Wolfenstein fan. Then we got Deathloop, which is kind of a new IP as well, this time coming from the Dishonored team. It looked awfully similar, or they were talking, it sounded like it was going to be very similar to the Dishonored games in that, the levels are supposedly very finely crafted so that when you go through them, you can have different takes on how you want to get from point A to point B, gives it that replayability, gives it kind of a unique feel for every player that goes through the game. Everyone's going to have probably a little bit of a different way of getting through these levels, just like they were in Dishonored. After that, we got to hear about some technology, and unfortunately, it's not a new graphics engine or a new engine in general, but it is something called Orion, and it's a streaming technology. It's kind of a, would this be considered middleware, I guess? It's made to optimize game engines, any and all existing game engines, for playing via the cloud. So it works with any engine, like I said, with the goal being to lower latency dramatically and then up to 40% less bandwidth. Now, we don't know what these comparisons are currently being compared to, what baselines they are or anything, but this does seem to fill or fix perhaps, depending on how well it works, one of the concerns people had with the cloud gaming moving forward was how is this going to work with older games, older engines, etc., etc. I guess maybe this is something that Bethesda and ZeniMax, or ZeniMax, I guess, more than Bethesda, were considering and put this together. So we'll have to wait and see how that comes together for even things. They mentioned Stadia during the presentation, so it's pretty much for everyone. And then the last thing that we got, it was a wrap-up of the conference, was the Doom Eternal, which got a trailer. And then they also showed a new thing where it was like Doom platforming. Like it actually had like one-ups and shit. It looked like fucking Doom Mario. It was very odd, but it looked more like Doom, just with platforming of some weird description. Very hard to put my finger on what exactly is going on there. November 22nd was the date tossed out for that. Collector's Edition with wearable helmet. They showed that, and there was a guy in the audience that had the helmet on, and it honestly looked pretty dope. I mean, I'm not going to buy it or anything, but, as far as collectibles go for these collector's editions, it didn't look terrible. And they also announced a battle mode, which is a new multiplayer mode, which is kind of like a Left 4 Dead or evolved natural selection thing. 2 demons versus 1 slayer, and the demons can summon other demons and whatnot, and trying to like tactically take out the well-equipped and powerful slayer. And that seemed kind of neat. People in the chat seemed to have a relatively positive reaction to that. So there you have it. Take that for what you will. And that was it. That was the show. We already knew from God Howard saying earlier, no Elder Scrolls 6, no Starfield, no nothing like that was going to be talked about. I still wasn't sure. I thought maybe he was just debating us or some shit, but no, he wasn't. In general, this was a really, really terrible conference. There was, very little here that was particularly promising. Ghostwire Tokyo, we'll never know until we see gameplay. Fuck Fallout 76 at the Battle Royale. That might be one that's probably the worst move that game could have taken. The best move for Fallout 76 is forget that it ever happened. The last thing that you do is put a fucking Battle Royale in it. That's insane. Nobody cares about Blades. Elder Scrolls Online is just doing its own thing. It's been good. And then that's, the show. I mean, everything else is just whatever. There's nothing there, which is what we expected given, what we were going into this conference with. So either way, if you're a big Bethesda fan, maybe you were excited, maybe you weren't. We'd love to hear about it from you. If you send it in through Twitter or otherwise, let us know. Of course, Jeff and I will be going over all the E3 stuff eventually on the podcast when we get back together. I will continue to do this stuff, live reactions. You can check them on the second channel there. It's Life's a Glitch TV 2 on YouTube. And if you want to watch live, I'm doing as many of the conferences as I can. Live on Twitch, twitch.tv/NovaWar for that. And yeah, otherwise you'll be able to get these little recaps here as I do them. Thank you for listening as always. Head on over to patreon.com/LagTV if you have a hot minute. And until we see you in the next one, peace!